Alright guys, well, we got us a new transmission, or a remanufactured transmission. It's got an input shaft in it that's not broken in two, so that's a pretty good start. Got a little different number on that transmission, if you know what the difference is. We're going to 18 speed. It wasn't but a few $100 more, $400 or $500, something like that. Talking about the shift knob and the difference in the price. They did take my core, my 13-speed core, swap on the 18, and so that's what we're putting in there is 18 speed. I've got the new bell housing in that box that I hope is right. We got a new clutch, a clutch fork, and some other stuff, gear oil, degreaser, and other stuff that I needed. Anyways, $10,000 worth of stuff. So yeah, not a good day on that. Those U-joints, I just bought one because they're like $250 a piece, and the caps fell off of one. It probably really needs all of them put in there, and I'll probably go back and do that. I did go ahead and pick up a swing bearing. He said he thought was the right one. I'm going to need that. I don't know if I'm going to get it put in before I run this load or not, because that can turn into a whole nother deal, trying to get the old one off, and I don't know if I have enough time to do it, but hoping we can get this here and there. Hope that bell housing and everything is correct. It's different, but it's supposed to be the updated version. So let me get the tractor over there, and I'm going to get this out of here and get it in there, and we'll get it all sorted out, hopefully. You get bonus points when the pallet breaks when you go to set it down, don't you? At least I made it where I was setting it down. Pallet broke apart. Anyways, I guess I'll get this strap off of here and get my chain over there so I can pick this thing up and get it off of what's left of the pallet. See if we can get it setting up on the jack. All right, I've got it setting up on the jack there. I still got the tractor tied to it for time being. I think I'm going to go ahead and put my yoke on and my bell housing, as well as the clutch assembly. Hang it all on the input shaft and put it in that way, because I don't have a lineup shaft. I think I could stick it on the input and go about it that way. So I want to leave that tractor hooked up for now, so when I hang that extra weight on the front, if this thing decides to fall off the jack like it did yesterday with the old one, that it won't fall off and break something or get on me or anything like that. So I've got a ratchet strap on here. That seems to work better than the chain. That chain that had on here is kind of poor, and I put a piece of cardboard between the jack and the bottom of the transmission for some extra friction, because that metal on metal, there's no friction there. And these stupid little ears that they put on there, they just put a little tack weld on it and they broke off. This is not a heavy duty transmission jack really. This is a Harbor Freight special, the biggest one Harbor Freight makes or had at the time. I don't know if they make anything different now or not, but anyway, that's what I'm working with. Definitely not a jack you'd want to use every day for sure, but hopefully we can get the job done. It's got the job done a time or two before. So we'll go out here and start getting the rest of the stuff out of the truck, and we'll pull this piece here off and see about getting that bell housing mounted up. There is one thing I've got a question about, and I'm gonna read over there. I think they got some paperwork on the side of this thing I'm gonna read about, and if I can't figure it out, I guess I'll just put it back like the other one or whatever. But basically there's an oil ring that goes in here. I'll show you guys, and some of you guys may know more about these things than I do about what the purpose of that is and whatnot. But let me go get all that stuff out and I'll be back with you. All right guys, so this is what I had a question about. On the front of this transmission here, this lube ring right here, this is a forced lube system, and this come out of my old transmission. That's what it looks like installed. They have a plug kit here that they send on the side of it, and this transmission that I bought, this Remand, already has a plug kit in it, but they had this in an additional. They got this service bulletin here that I couldn't make heads or tails from. You can try to read that and see if you can figure out what the heck they're talking about. It's saying, you know, if you use it with transmissions that require the forced lube, it may cause it to fail and void the warranty. and then the other part of it is saying something about the clutch housing studs, and you can use the plug system. So I was a little bit confused of why that was like that. So I called this number here, talked with the Eaton tech, and he told me to put this force lube system back on the unit, that the transmission will last a whole lot longer. And you know, that's kind of what I thought myself. I figured it was on there for a reason. So it's got some O-rings on here that are kind of nicked up. I'm gonna go through and remove the O-rings here that off of the plugs that's in there, or off of these plugs and replace these O-rings are bad. And I think we're gonna put this right here on there, because this was in the old one. It makes me feel a whole lot better. But as you see right here, they have these plugged. I got to get a threaded bolt and screw in there and pull those out. There's one there and there, and then that force lube goes over here. And I don't see any reason why that's like that unless I run into something while I'm doing this. But that's where I'm at right now. All right, so we should be able to just screw this bolt right here and pull that plug out. No, I guess that was the, hope that was the jack creaked. So I didn't see anything fall out. So they had the short plug in the upper and the long plug in the bottom. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull these O-rings off and replace the bad ones on there. We're gonna put this on there. All right, guys, I've swapped out the O-rings there. I had to get a couple more over there. I had some, I guess Viton is how you say that. O-rings appear to be what those are. They're brown. Clean this thing up with brake clean, and so we're going to put it in. I've got some oil on the O-rings and everything, and so hopefully it'll go right in there. Get it lined up there. Unless there's something different in there. There it went. Snap right in there like it ought to. Seems legit to me. Now I've got to look at how that case bell housing goes around here and seals. That's what I got to take note of here, because that lubes that bearing. That lubes that bearing. I'm guessing this is going to lube the counter shaft or main shaft or whatever it's over down through there, or bearing or something. So let me look at this bell housing here and try to figure out exactly how that seals right there. All right, guys, looking at the small little gap around here where the gasket's at, it should seal. I looked at the old bell housing over there, and that piece should go right between this force lube ring here, and it should seal. But I put just a small, tiny, thin layer of silicone right here. That way, hopefully that'll help it seal. You don't want to put very much. If you do, I'm sure this is not recommended, because the silicone can create more problems than it'll solve. It'll squeeze out and get into your bearings and actually plug up oil hoses and stuff, so you don't want to do that. But I did that, so hopefully we won't have any leakage problems there. Getting ready to slip this thing on here. All right, guys, so I've got the bell housing up on there, got all the bolts tight. I have no idea what the torque spec is. I run them up with the impact wrench and then used a ratchet to fill of them. Same way on these clutch fork bolts. That's just aluminum. Well, it ain't aluminum threads, it's a nutsert type deal or thread insert in the deal there, but that's supposed to be the way that goes. This is our quick change clutch brake we're going to use. Got to get her snapped together. And those are easy to change. They probably break more often, but if they do, they're easier to change, so that's a plus. So we're going to try to clean the shaft up a little bit, I guess. Got Cosmoline on it. I'll clean that off. We'll get our clutch opened up and hang it on the end of here. So this is the clutch I went with. It's manual adjust, 2050 foot-pounds, 4,000 pound clamp load, and hopefully that'll work out okay. That's an Ace manufacturing clutch. It had a Mid-American in it. So we're gonna see what we got here. It's pretty inexpensive. Whew. And heavy. All right, guys, I'm gonna lay this clutch out piece by piece. I've tried to get all the grease and stuff off my hands here. I'll make sure that I don't get this all turned around, because it should be stacked the way that it goes, I would assume. So, lay that on a piece of paper there. And we may have to pull that clutch fork back out. I don't know. If we do, we do. With the old style bell housing, it was totally different setup there. So, you got 2 different grease points on it. I guess depending on which way it goes in, huh? They sent a fiber washer in that clutch kit. I don't know if I need it or not to get the spacing right. So I'm gonna put it on there, and if it don't work out right, I don't need it. I can get it off of there after I get the transmission in, but I guess that's the easiest way to go about it. All right, got everything covered in grease. That's what I thought it was, just different points to lube the bearing depending on where this is pointed, which it looks like the way it's going to orientate. I'll be greasing from this spot right here because these top ones will be out of the way. Some people are pretty picky about the surface and making sure these are super clean. I used to be, but not so much anymore. Get this jack tilt back. I ain't want to. All right, this is my new pilot bearing here. This is a pilot bearing puller. I'm gonna hop under the truck. This is in the flywheel. The old one's in the flywheel. I'm gonna stick this in there, grab the back side of that old bearing, tighten it down, use this slide hammer here to snatch it out, and I'm gonna drive the new one in. All right, time for plan B. You probably can't see, but that bearing right there is too far in there, and that probably happened when that input shaft broke. It pushed that bearing forward, I'm guessing. But I can't get my pallet bearing puller in there, and so what I'm going to try to do is, I've got a socket here that's the same size as that. I'm going to try to pack it full of grease and hit this and force that grease in there, and it should get behind it and create hydraulic pressure and push the bearing out. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. If I can get it to come out just a little bit, and then I can get my puller behind the lip of that bearing, I can get it on out. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get that out of there. So let me see what I can do with it. All right, I got my socket full of grease. I got that full of grease. See what happens here. I know you can't see. I'm not going to try to film very much of this. Don't know if it's even going to work, but that's what I got in mind there. I can't really get to it. All the stuff's in my way. Ow. Bottomed out, need some more grease. Nothing else, you make a mess trying this. We're good at that. So. Stupid oil cooler. It's all kind of in the way. It's gonna have to force that grease behind that bearing before it's gonna have a chance to work. Wish it was a little deeper groove in there, or a little deeper hole rather. Have a better chance of working. I do believe it's moving though. Yeah, it's coming. It's about out flush, close. Closer than it was. It moved a good bit then. Just about out flush. We are out flush now. We can probably get get our pilot bearing tool behind it now, I'm pretty sure. We're out flush now. It was in about a 1/4 inch, close to it, 3/16. We'll put a little more grease up there just because. Already covered in it, so why not? That's a bad thing about doing it this way. You get grease all over everything. But it did push it out enough I can get behind it, I think. Man, what a mess. Alright, we'll get behind it with our tool now and snatch her on out of here. Yeehaw. I got to get all that grease cleaned out of there. Then I can drive the new one back in. I bought a new bushing for the shift tower here. It's the wrong bushing. This is one of these that's made in deal. And I melted it out. And been whittling on this sucker and melting on it for, I don't know, like a couple of hours, seems like. Probably close to it. I think about got it to fit. Didn't have too many options left. I tried to get a dust boot right there. They did not have one. Had to get a new hose that goes from the master cylinder to the slave cylinder for the clutch. There's a part number. Here's what the hose looks like. The old hose right there is rubbed into on that bracket. It's leaking out the brake fluid. I don't know how it was working until this happened, and evidently it was fixing to play out. And maybe when that clutch fork bound up and I mashed on the clutch, it's probably what happened. I mashed on it kind of hard, it played out. All right, guys, I've got to flush those cooler lines right there. I'm probably not really going to flush them too much. Probably just blow the oil out of them more or less. I don't think it has any metal in it because the input shaft broke, and that's what turns the oil pump that pumps through the transmission. So the input shaft had broke, and the oil pump had stopped pumping before it made any metal. So there should not be any metal in it. I've got to do that, and I've got to put the yoke wherever I laid it. I think it may be still in the truck. I took it with me to get a U-joint. I got to put the yoke on the back of the transmission, and then I think we'll be ready to put that thing in. One other thing I wanted to point out, there's a difference in the Airlines on an 18 and a 13. I'm not super familiar with it. I'm sure somebody is, have done these conversion swaps before. I have not, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But a 13 has an extra airline. You would think it would be right the opposite, but you have one here, and then one right here. There's a T right here on the 13 that I took out. This 18 does not have that, so I'm gonna have an extra line coming from my shift knob. We have to swap the shift knob out. I have a new shift knob over here for this 18. Oh, you know, the box is open, but I will. This is what he had in stock. Supposed to be some screws in there somewhere. Oh, I see them in the bottom of the thing there. Anyway, this is the shift knob here. There's 5 lines, but one of them, as you see right there, has no threads in it. The actual 13 shift knob, I have not pulled it out of the truck yet. but there's 5 lines coming down from it. One of them's exhaust, and then it had 4 more that are actually functional. So this one should be 1 exhaust, I'm guessing, and 3 actually functional. And of course these color codes are not going to match up, so you're going to have to figure that all out. Alright guys, I have still not pulled the old 13-speed shift knob out or looked at it, but I think I got this figured out. It's pretty simple. P right there goes to P right here. E is going to be for the exhaust hose, which is hooks to nothing. The hose just runs down up under the truck to exhaust the air. On the other side, the SP goes right here, and the S goes right there. And so that is the only hoses. On the 13-speed, you have an HL, which goes right here, evidently. I have not pulled that other 13-speed shift knob off to verify, but according to what I've seen on the internet, that's what it looks like. And my other transmission, 13-speed, had a line right here going in the same fitting. You may have seen another video where I disconnected the Airlines, but it had one here, one there, one there, and one there. So the 18-speed has one less port on it. Alright guys, I pulled these clutch discs back out because I realized that I was not going to be able to get to that very well and try to grease that. So I put this little oiling or greasing line on there, and I wish I'd thought to try to get a new one. That's probably not something they had anyway, but it needs a new one, but that's gonna have to make it for now. You might could get to it up in there without that, but it'd be really difficult. And so I got it stuck back on there. If I can stack the disc back in there, and I think we'll be ready to stab this thing. I've got the yoke and everything on it, all the fittings and sensors except for the cooling line fittings down here and the temperature sensor that goes in the bottom. And I have not put that in yet because it could get broke from the jack or something. So I'll wait till I get it stabbed to do that. All right, guys, we got our new 18-speed put in. I didn't film any of the rest of the putting it in. I started running out of time and stuff, and so I just went ahead and got it put in. I had to take that little fiber washer back off the input shaft that I put on behind the clutch. After I got it in, I didn't have enough clearance between my clutch brake and my transmission right there, and so I took a screwdriver and used it as a chisel with a hammer and chiseled that little fiber washer back off the input shaft there. But anyway, I'm gonna shift this thing out one time here if I can and get it on camera. And you usually don't use all these gears. You can shift it just like a 13 and not split all the ones on the bottom. But we're gonna take off in low gear, which I never do. I always take off in first. But that's a second. I usually take off in that gear there. I'll take off in that gear if I'm empty. Flip her up to the high side. That's all 18 of them. And like I say, you don't use all of them on the low side. Usually drive it like a 13. I may split the third and fourth gear on the low side going up a hill or whatever. But that's all it is to it. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.